what's going on? Okay, so today, I know a lot of my videos end up being super long, but I always have a lot of detail that I want to give you. This is a little bit more of a simple restoration, but I think it's going to be really helpful. A lot of times, you can grab an old coffee table or an old piece of furniture, and you can sand it down and think you got it ready, but then a lot of people get to that point and they say, okay, I have no idea what finish is going to be best for this. So I like going through that kind of stuff as well. So I stopped in a thrift store that's local to me, and every now and then I'll just kind of do that. If I'm driving by, I'm like, hey, I'm going to go check it out, because there always seems to be something that I could either use right away or something I could restore and know that it's going to come out really nice. In this case, I saw this coffee table and I knew in an instant I was taking it. Had a price tag of 25 bucks on it, and I said, you know what, whoever did this did a good job. It was a custom built, probably out of some 2x4s or 2x6s. I can't really remember what the top had. I could go look at it and see if they were 2x4s or 2x6s. But anyway, I would say if I had to go get all the lumber to do this, by the time I shopped for the lumber, paid for it, just the time put into it, and then paying for it, and then the time it would take to build this thing, I would have at least $200 or $300 in the labor. Especially with the way that they did this tabletop. They glued the pieces together really nice and tight after they probably shaved off the edges. So if it was some type of framing lumber, the edges might have been a little bit round, and you can tell that they shaved off the edges to make it perfectly rectangle first. And it was just a really nice job. So I was like, okay, this table is well worth 25 bucks. I just wanted to modernize it a bit. So we'll get into this thing, and I'll show you guys what I did. So I started by giving it a good cleaning, and then you want to look around and make sure there's no cracks, anything that I might have missed in the store, but I was pretty sure that it was in good shape. It felt so solid and sturdy, and still I use this coffee table in my home. It's awesome. I love it. So there were no cracks or anything like that, and I wanted to make sure there weren't any issues with the existing finish. So the white paint that was around the base, it seemed to be holding on pretty well, and even though it was probably just some roll-on house paint, it was really nice and dry, and it was bonded to the wood really well. So I knew I probably wouldn't have any problems with it. What I decided to do was stain the top with the same color that I used on my Yamaha grand piano. It's a wood song stain made by Campbell Finishes, and I want to say it's called Traditional Mahogany. It has a lot of red in it. It's a very strong red type of stain, and I wanted to finish it with a satin because I feel like even though the piano's nice and shiny in the living room, that's normal, whereas the coffee table is going to have a lot of things placed on it, and it's going to scratch. I mean, you don't see those scratches in a satin finish near as much unless it's just really bad. So the satin that I went with was fast drying poly, probably just a Minwax product, and that stuff actually works pretty good. For the most part, I'm all about automotive and very high quality finishes, things that require you to mix a hardener into it before using it and things like that. But I have come to realize that the Minwax fast drying polys, they're a pretty decent product, and they hold up to moisture and all that. You don't set your glass on it and get that ring from the condensation. Like, water doesn't cause those products to break down, which is really cool. They've been pretty strong for me when I use them here and there. So I went with that, and then for the base I actually did use a satin black that's made by Imron, and it's or DuPont, that is an automotive kind of industrial finish, and that one requires you to mix a hardener and then also an accelerator and a little bit of a thinner to it. And I applied that one with a spray gun. I don't think I have time-lapse video in here of that section, but I use, you have to do that one with a spray gun. That's not like a rattle can product or anything like that. So what you're seeing now is I'm just doing a light sanding. I figured the finish that was already on the top was holding on really well. It seemed like a stain with a really thin, maybe clear coat over it, but I didn't particularly like the color, so that's why I used the traditional mahogany to darken it up a little bit, and we're getting it ready to put the new color on. Most of the time, I would say in situations like this, I'm sanding a little bit of an old finish down, but I'm not trying to completely strip down to bare wood. There's no reason for me to do that. I just need some scratches that are fine so you don't see them, but still just enough for a new paint finish to stick. It's got to have something to grab into. Just to clarify the strip down or kind of the sanding and prep, I do go down to the bare wood when it comes to stained areas. A minute ago I was referring to like a painted surface like the base. If you want the stain to penetrate into the wood really good, you're usually going to have to remove any kind of old clear finishes, or else it's just not really going to do it. I have had some decent results kind of staining over a clear, and sometimes it'll tint it a little bit, but if you really want it to soak into the wood, you do have to remove that part. So just to clear that up. As far as the other painted areas though, that's what I was talking about. I could pretty much just scuff it and make sure that there's some good scratches there for adhesion. So for the most part, I was probably using anywhere from 120 grit to maybe a 220 grit to sand this thing down. And even 320 is probably fine, but that's not going to get you very far if there's a lot of texture or anything like that in the old finish. Once I had it sanded down, I gave it a good wipe down with the Prep Clean, and typically if you use naphtha or PVG, if you're shopping at an automotive paint store, PVG makes that product called DX330 wax and grease remover. That's a good prep for paint, but I want to say that can's kind of expensive, so the naphtha is pretty much the same thing. Now, not only do I like the color of that Campbell stain, it also seems to be one of the nicest applying stains I've ever used. I mean, it goes on so even, and it's just really easy to get a good finish out of it. So with the final wipe of the stain, I'm ready for some clear coat. Now, on occasion I do spray these polyurethanes out of a spray gun, and they lay out super smooth. I love the way that works. But for something nice and flat like this, kind of a just easy surface, I felt like I could brush it on pretty good and just get a nice wet coat. And then when it dries, it gives you that really good, satin finish. And this one, I couldn't be happier with it. For the amount of work that I put into it, it was great. Even though shiny, you see some little dust particles, but when it gives you that satin sheen, it's pretty much gone. And then if you really wanted to, you could scuff it down and do a thin coat one more time just to really smooth it out, but I don't even feel any of it. Like I said, I use this coffee table and I never rub my hand on it and feel dust or anything. I mean, the more you wipe it down, the more that stuff evens out anyway, so I think it came out pretty good. I was really happy with the way that the clear laid out on this. Now, for whatever reason, I didn't take any time lapse or any video of spraying the black area, the base of the coffee table, but it's pretty straightforward. I mean, I remember it was difficult to get in there, and in the little X areas on the side, definitely had to set that tip kind of creatively. With a spray gun, it's great because you got the dot spray, or you can fan it out however you want it. So I want to say for some of those areas, I was really using that dot spray, just trying to shoot the black up in those crevices, and the rest of it wasn't too bad. I had to mask off the top, obviously, because it was nice and finished, so just taped around right underneath where the line followed the base area, and it was very straightforward. I think it came out great, and I'm glad that this thing was something that I was able to find. I definitely enjoy this table, and if I ever built one, I'd probably want to build another one just like it. I think it's a really cool design, so whoever did it, definitely they were good at what they do. I kind of wish I knew who it was. Well, that's going to do it for this little quick project. I hope you guys learned something, and remember, if you ever have questions about refinishing products and things like that, feel free to leave a comment and ask. I've painted a lot of different things with a lot of different products. And I've also done time testing, so I know certain things that will last in the sun, certain things that won't when it comes to automotive, even some of the wood finishing stuff. And also the problems I've run into over the years just testing things. So never hesitate to ask. Please hit that like button, it's going to help grow the channel, and subscribe. That way you don't miss any of the next ones. Thank you guys so much. We'll see you next time.